From the studios of the Bakersfield Californian, it's time to open up with real people and real talk about real stuff. And now, a special welcome to our friends throughout California, across the nation, and around the world to this week's edition of Open Up.
Everybody, thanks for being with us. I'm Don Clark.
And I am Bob Prater, as usual.
Yep, sitting in for Tina Miller, who's
I
at
am.
home watching, enjoying a day off. So we're your second favorite pair on the air.
Well,
glad to have you.
a far less attractive pair, but we are your second favorite pair on the air.
You know, that was Vanessa Claridge's British voice there on the
Really?
air introducing us.
Such a
and
good accent,
she
isn't
needs,
it?
She needs to do that a lot more.
She needs to do that a lot more.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
executive assistant to one of our top lawyers here in town, and she did that as a favor to open up. So we're very grateful to that.
That's awesome.
Viewers around the world, you know, let's up and down the valley. We've got them in Visalia, Sacramento, Modesto, Stockton. For all you folks here in the valley and all the rest around the country and the world, about 19 countries out there watching. Egypt, Spain,
Wow.
Sweden, England,
Amazing.
Wow. Well,
Hungary, Norway.
Wow.
For all of you folks out there, we're just really glad you joined us. And beautiful day here in Bakersfield today. We hope it's even more beautiful wherever you are. So we've got a fabulous guest here, and it's something that we think is really important. We think it's important to try to dispel stereotypes among religions, and that's part of what we're doing here today. And Bob, take it away.
Well, I am very pleased that I get to co-host with you today, Don, because one of my dear friends is joining us, Ahmad Mirza. And Ahmad is the Emir of Kern County. He is the legal and spiritual head of Kern County's 5,000 practicing Muslims, approximately 5,000. And he is nothing less than the man. And I have to tell you, Ahmad, it is such a pleasure to have you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be back on Open Up. It's been a pleasure each time I've been on the show, and I know we're going to get into some interesting conversation that, God willing, will be beneficial for people.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah, I hope so.
Come right up to that
You
microphone,
got it.
Ahmad. You better pull it toward
Okay,
you. We
either
got to
way.
kind of eat that microphone for.
I know, I remember now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I would love to jump right in to the Supreme Court's decision this week, the 7-1 decision that involved Abercrombie and Fitch and a young Muslim woman, 17 years old at the time, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was denied a job because she wore a headscarf. And according to what I've read, they didn't even ask; they just assumed that she would want to wear that, and so they were beaten in court this week. What are the thoughts of your community on this? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't been able to, really get the feel of the community this week. I've been traveling. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. One of our first freedoms and biggest protections that we enjoy in the United States is freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, so on and so forth. And I don't know why this matter has to be, again, a matter. Why are we making this a matter? This is really unusually strange and unfortunate for a nation that enjoys so much freedoms and liberties, and we're so just in so many ways that we've chosen the freedom of religion and expression, and something as honorable and simple as a headscarf, as a woman saying, I want to be modest. Some want to wear them for fashion, et cetera, but I don't believe these issues should be made into issues. I believe it's a sad indication of where we've come, that we are choosing these types of matters to make issues, to make them areas where we want to make our stand. And I think it's unfortunate for the women that want to be modest in this way, and unfortunate for the Supreme Court that they have to hear such a case. And it's unfortunate for the nation that we're sitting by not being angered by these types of events more angered than we've been showing. It's a affront to our constitutional rights, liberties. This is a nation that tries to really be a beacon. Right. It's hard to be a beacon when you're trying to take away people's rights and privileges under the Constitution.
What do you say to the other side of the coin that would say this now places employers at pretty high risk, having to try to figure out what might be coming before they even hire someone Say someone cannot work on a Saturday, or they can't work on a Sunday, or they have to do this or they have to do that. So what do you say to the other side of that?
No, I think that there needs to be freedoms on both sides to a certain extent, as long within reason. The Muslim weekly holiday is Friday. The Christians generally is Sunday. And the Jews are Saturday. And so we've been able to establish Saturday and Sunday. Friday for us, most of the Muslims have been able to cope with the matter that, it's a day of work. Some areas where there are a lot of Muslims in a certain locality, they've been able to get some, flexibility. I think there needs to be, the numbers need to warrant these types of things, and if the numbers don't warrant it, I think we do need to look at the other side and make sure that we're not oppressing them either. I believe the majority can certainly oppress a minority. I believe that with all my heart. But I also believe there are cases where the minority can oppress the majority, okay? Where they're asking for far too much for the numbers and so on and so forth. And I think that we need to again look at these things in a way that is responsible, in a way that is reasonable, in a way that doesn't oppress anyone, okay?
Right.
Overly, especially financially, where you're taking away someone's livelihood. I don't think we'll run into those problems as long as everyone is reasonable, and we're not picking on any particular group because we want to for this reason or that reason, whether it's ethnicity, skin color, religion, and so on and so forth. If we're really looking at the issues, I had a case where a friend of mine was a corrections officer and he wanted to grow his beard. He wanted to grow his beard, and they have regulations in that regard. And you may not know this, but a lot of Sikhs have issues because they want to wear that turban,
right.
Or they can't cut their hair, they can't show their hair.
Right.
And for them being police officers and things like that is a big matter. So some of these cases, in the case of my friend, I told him, I said, look, you have provisions in Islam. You're okay. They're forcing you to shave your beard. There's nothing against that. You're not being held liable by God. And he said, but it's my right and it's my constitutional right, and I want to, and this is how I want to practice my faith. He did win. Okay, he did win the case.
Wow.
But he got a lot of flack internally from his supervisors, co-workers, and so forth. It got to a really bad, ending. Right. So that's the unfortunate thing. Because if you push too hard, you make people embittered and upset. Right. And they feel like you're being unjust or oppressive. So I think there's a fine balance, and I think the community needs to weigh in and things of that effect. If each family or each individual just goes on and fights this fight without at least asking the community, is this one that is worth fighting? That might be another problem that we can run into, and I've seen a little bit of that happen.
Ahmad, it really does seem to me in both conservative Islam and conservative evangelical biblical Christianity that there is a greater and greater intrusion of government and hostile media toward both. I was listening to a show last night, and the host there described one very prominent Christian organization, conservative Christian organization, as a anti-gay hate group. That if you're not fully supportive, embracing, enthusiastically affirming the gay agenda and the normality of gay sex and all the rest, that makes you a hater. And it just seems to me like we're about one step away from if you just hold a biblical view of that, at least a conservative biblical view, you're going to be charged with a hate crime. Are you experiencing the same kind of hostility in Islam for your stand on that issue? Yeah,
I think, it depends. But when we do get asked that question, when I get asked that question in lectures and speeches and so on and so forth, I answer it two ways. One way is what Islam says about it, what we believe about it, what we know it to be the godly message, which this is unnatural and this is illegal and not allowable according to Islamic law, and that we would try to discourage it heavily. On the other hand, we understand that people have that right under the Constitution to practice their, in terms of what sexual orientation they want to have.
Right.
And so we try to say, look, we won't go out and encourage anyone to hate someone or mistreat them or so on, or prevent them from this or prevent them from that, but we make our stand. We do tend to see that they get a little offended and upset and so on and so forth, and I think we are trending to where, again, I say, you remember what I said earlier, that sometimes minorities can oppress majorities. In this particular case, I believe a minority, a very small minority, is starting to really oppress a majority of the people. Where somehow, some way, not only do we have to accept it in society, which we do because legally they have that right, and there's no reason they should be oppressed or they shouldn't feel any injustice and so on and so forth, but we can't then be forced to teach it as a correct way. We can't be forced to change what our teachings are, go against what God teaches in the Bible or in the Quran, insofar as not just our homes and our children and so on and so forth, but our mosques and what we teach to the community. We have that right. Again, these are freedoms that everyone should enjoy, a freedom to be able to express your faith, and if your faith says X, Y, and Z, you should be able to defend it, see if it fits in modern day, see if it has a secular means by which you can apply it. In many cases, we can't apply their matters in our faith, and conservative Christians need to know that, so do conservative Muslims. And I believe, again, there is a balance, but we have a right to say, no, this is, according to us, against God's law, and it's unnatural, and here's why. But if you choose to be gay in the United States of America, I would defend your rights, and I wouldn't allow anybody to hurt you or harm you or in any way treat you unjustly.
You bet. When we come back, I want to talk about religion as its own oppressive force, oppressing its own when we come back. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Imad Mirza.